volunteers in the Philippines distribute rice in Davao City, continuing to care for the locals. We learn about how Alishan's conditions make it ideal for growing Japanese horseradish. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Siri Su. Thank you for joining us. Tzu Chi volunteers in the Philippines have been reaching out to different communities in Davao City since they started to hold free clinics there. Recently, Tzu Chi volunteers held a rice distribution in the city, benefiting more than 5,000 people.
Early in the morning, many people have already lined up at the gates of Davao Zhonghua High School. Tzu Chi volunteers have distributed rice in Davao City, benefiting over 5,000 people. Most of the people who have received help are local impoverished families and those who were affected by last year's Typhoon Tianbin.
The 20 kilograms of rice is very important to them because they don't have money. For them, a bag of rice can sustain them for a long time.
John Ray Romanos has a problem with his brain development due to premature birth. Now he lives alone and is unemployed. What even worse is that his house was burned down in a fire accident last year. While having 3 meals a day is a problem for him, this bag of rice is not merely something that can feed him.
I am very thankful to Tzu Chi for giving me this bag of rice. This blessing also brings me new hope, allowing me to feel that I am also worth being helped and loved.
Since Tzu Chi volunteers started to hold free clinics in local communities the year before last, and after they conducted relief work after a major earthquake last year, they have inspired many people to join the ranks of volunteers. They have also strengthened their links with local communities. With the introduction of volunteers, everyone understands the meaning behind Tzu Chi's bamboo coin banks. Many people also respond enthusiastically, sending blessings to people in need all around the world.
In Liaoning, China, Tzu Chi volunteer Feng Lifen has recently undergone a surgery for her skin cancer. Since her husband is working overseas and her 2 sons are away from home, other Tzu Chi volunteers decided to accompany her at the hospital.
2018年2月28日，丽芬师姐手术的日子。
At 5 o'clock in the morning, while most people are still sleeping, 8 Tzu Chi volunteers have gathered at the hospital, coming from various places. Tzu Chi's documenting volunteer Feng Lifen, who has basal cell skin cancer, lies in bed with big smiles, without feeling anxious or worried. Upon seeing these Dharma families, she cried several times.
I'm grateful to the Tzu Chi brothers and sisters for accompanying me. They call me on the phone and pray for me. I'm very fortunate.
Feng Lifen's husband works overseas and her 2 sons are studying away from home. Whenever Dharma families face difficulties, Tzu Chi volunteer Zheng Shengyang will do his best to help out.
She is always giving of herself, being a Tzu Chi documenting volunteer. I really look up to her. She will be fine since everyone is praying for her.
Senior volunteer Xu Ziyuan is the person everyone relies on.
All difficulties can be dealt with, including illnesses. This is time our perseverance is being pushed to test.
It's been a month since the Hualien earthquake occurred. However, many affected residents do live in fear. Tzu Chi volunteers started to provide hot meals, blankets, medical services, and emergency cash within 5 days after the earthquake. A month later, volunteers still continue to assist earthquake victims.
11:50 p.m. February 6, 2018. The ground was trembling fiercely and the rescue team started their race with time as soon as the earthquake occurred. There's no time to waste to save life. Hualien Tzu Chi Hospital launched the mass casualty incident routine and took in 135 injured patients with more than 200 medical professionals standing by. 5 minutes after the earthquake, Tzu Chi launched the Disaster Relief Coordination Center while Dharma masters in Jingsi abode prepared ginger soups, and volunteers went into the disaster area to comfort the earthquake victims.
The weather is very cold, so we coordinate to give us blankets first.
Volunteers have set up 4 service stations in Zhonghua Elementary School, Hualien Arena, Zichan Junior High School, and Jingsi Ho, as well as 3 consultation spots and food stands in Tianhui Temple, Tomato Hot Pot Restaurant, and Platinum Twin Star Building. Many children were frightened by the earthquake. Volunteers joined teachers and students from Tzu Chi schools to host reading and tutor class at the temporary shelter.
Through accompanying these children to read or through telling them some stories and playing games, we can release some of their pressure.
Earthquake victims lost their houses in the night. Hence, Tzu Chi volunteers offer the international dormitory for them to stay in on top of the temporary shelter provided by local government.
Volunteers take their shift without resting, and they provide hot breakfast in the morning. I deeply appreciate them.
我们现在这里，所以我们要往德2街往下去哈。
4 days after the earthquake, volunteers spread into 30 teams to begin home visits for residents near Zhonghua Elementary School and Yunmen Cuiti Building.
We hope they can express their fear through our love and care.
The 5th day after the earthquake, volunteers hosted a prayer musical concert for earthquake victims to sing and cry to express their emotions and heart.
地震很强烈的已经过去了，要好好的把握虔诚光明的心，让未来迎接未来的亮丽平安的吉祥的日子。你们再关心我，一定很快就复原了。
Recently, volunteers visited Miss Lee again, who was a resident in the Platinum Twin Star Building. Her husband broke his ribs in a car accident and was just released from the hospital on the day of the earthquake. However, after they ran out of their collapsed house, there were no more spots in temporary shelter in Zhonghua Elementary School. Therefore, volunteers brought them to the Tzu Chi International Dormitory and gave them the power to survive.
If it weren't for them at the moment, my husband can't possibly have recovered so fast. Just a blink of an eye and our home is gone, and I feel like I have no one to rely on. Tzu Chi made us feel that we are not alone and we are safe.
From the very beginning to the end, a month has passed, but Tzu Chi volunteers have never stopped for a moment to keep comforting the earthquake victim.
We are entering the phase of mid and long-term care. Therefore, we will continue to give financial aid, scholarships, solitary senior visitations, and consultations for disaster victims with post-trauma stress disorders.
Alishan's steep terrain has led the geology of the area to be fragile. Alishan's year-round temperature is below 23 degrees and has 80% humidity, making it a great place to grow Japanese horseradish.
This area, Taiwan's Alishan, is full of stories. This is the famed Alishan train, a century-old red juniper, which is some of the most beautiful scenery on the island. This is also the only place where Japanese horseradish is grown, which is turned into wasabi.
Horseradish comes in 2 different varieties. One is slightly purple, which is commonly known as red stem, and then there are these sections which indicate increased strength based upon its density. After peeling, we grind it by rubbing it in circle, and this shows the quality is good. Otherwise, why would Japanese people want this wasabi?
In October 2017, we followed environmental groups climbing up to Provincial Highway 18 in Alishan. We hiked this slippery trail to learn more about the planting of Japanese horseradish. In this state-owned forest, underneath a thick canopy of trees which block the sun, we find that frequent foot traffic has created this small trail.
The location where we are today is about 2,200 meters above sea level. It's often cloud-filled more than half of the time, so it's mostly below 23 degrees Celsius.
At this location, we have mid-elevation clouds and our highest amount of rainfall along with our tallest trees, which has the highest amount of biomass.
Alishan was a cypress forest, but after centuries of logging, this piece of state-owned forest was later planted with cedar.
Horseradish growers must have some sunshine to grow. You can see that almost 4/5 of the leaves have been destroyed for this.
From another perspective, high up in the air, we can see more clearly that this dense forest has been punctuated. These spaces are not natural but man-made.
Under these cedars, only horseradish grows, as their neighboring environment has been affected. They cut the roots into pieces and even place these types of barricades.
Following this mountain slope, wood, soil, and stone has been piled up to create terraces. There are bags of fertilizer everywhere, along with empty bottles of pesticides. This agricultural practice looks quite primitive.
After the harvest, many of the farm tools, plastic, and appliances are simply left here at the scene.
For many years, this farming activity has inevitably affected the surrounding area.
Here you can see that this rain has caused lots of erosion. One of the problems here is soil and water conservation.
According to research, Japanese horseradish's ability to absorb water is nearly 1/3 of that of the forest, which makes such woodlands particularly vulnerable to collapse. This field survey reveals how much of an impact it is having.
You see, this is protected, but this here has been washed away. You can see the difference is a little more than 5 centimeters.
Looking at this area where Japanese horseradish was cultivated shows that there is a gap of 5 to 20 centimeters, which is the result of soil erosion by rain.
They just left these shoots, which has created this type of landscape.
The state-owned forest was illegally farmed with cedar saplings cut, leading to soil and water problems, which was hidden to the Forestry Service.
Now we're at this part of the state-owned forest where Japanese horseradish is cultivated, as the Forestry Bureau has undertaken a detailed investigation.
Every section of this horseradish garden has a placard with information clearly detailed.
This area of Alishan, which has been planted with horseradish in the state-owned forest, which does not have legal use of the spring water, was reclaimed by the government at the end of 2017.
The end of 2017 was a crucial moment in the recovery of forest land from horseradish farmers.
In the Alishan area, the 5th forest sections and the 7th forest section and Dapu 218 sections are the most densely populated areas.
According to a Forestry Bureau map, this area in red is all horseradish gardens, which is only a minute drive from the Alishan Forest Recreation Center. For ease of transportation, most of these horseradish farms are located along the road, though their entrances are usually blocked with warning signs. These areas are typically used by horseradish farmers. In our next report, we will accompany the Forestry Bureau to see how they recover this land and some of the problems that they encounter.
In our next report, we meet 42-year-old Yan Pingfang, whose son is visually impaired. Before she learned to take care of her child, her marriage failed and she was in debt. This miserable situation once led her to almost end her life. But later, she stood up again for her son.
爸爸，去外面走一走。妈没办法给你一个完整的家庭啊，你眼睛又看不见，那你的心情怎么样？ 他就跟我说：“阿妈，你不要想太多，人生畅快最重要，对不对？”
在我眼里，妈妈就是很强大啊。
你看这红色的壳啊无？有吼。嘿，啊，咱要甲土豆放落迄个壳啊内底，土豆是食法，我来食。就这样。
先做视障的体验。
After letting them experience being visually impaired, I think it's easier for everyone to feel the world with their ears.
Taiwan Lights of Love Association once held 20 free clinics in a month in different communities. To treat eye diseases, one has to race against time.
Nearly 20% of residents who came to this year's free clinic have to seek medical help as soon as possible. Taiwanese people often say that they're not able to thread a needle because they're old and they always think of it as normal. But actually, it's an eye disease and it can be cured.
Always walking in the forefront, Yan Pingfan is a very important person in the association.
Back then, I brought him to the beach because he suffered from tactile defensiveness. He had trouble stepping to the water after walking on the sand.
Her son lost vision at the age of 2. For a long period of time, this mother-son pair had been trapped in darkness.
我跨过那个阳台的时候，
When I strolled across the balcony, I remember it was around 2 a.m. My son suddenly woke up. It was then I felt awake again and walked back to the room.
清醒又再走回房间。
哎，弟弟，有鸟巢哎！樱花树虽然它的那个花都掉光了，但它上面筑了一个鸟巢。没办法，树。
Seeing the thin branches can also hold up a nest, Yan stands up again for her son.
妈妈就是很强大啊，就是。
My mom is a very powerful mother. She's like a breakwater which can block the waves.
Unlike others, Yan expanded his love by inviting volunteers to be engaged in education for people with visual impairment.
I suffer from a neural disease which has caused optic nerve lesions. When I'm at work, I often use one hand to open my eyes.
Miss Lin used to work with her eyes staring at the screen for more than 10 hours every day. Thankfully, with the association's help, her deteriorating eyesight has been saved. Now she also serves as a volunteer.
She works very hard to help the visually impaired.
Instead of being defeated by distress, Yan works non-stop to deliver love and care.
走过这一段路里头，我太清楚家里。
After going through these experiences, I know clearly the injury caused by any family member's eye problems. I hope more people can avoid the misfortune. In 2018, the percentage of elders in Taiwan will exceed 14%, becoming an aging society. Many elderly patients need to wait for a long time before they can receive long-term care. To shorten the waiting period, many hospitals are making adjustments. 88-year-old Grandpa Tsai was hospitalized for digestive problems. However, after he was discharged, there was no one to care for him because the family was busy with work. Fortunately, the hospital has stepped in to help out.
Both the home caregiver and the nurse went to our home. They provided assistance, medicine use, daily living, and preparing food. It was a great help for my family.
According to statistics, in Taipei, 16.45% of people are considered elderly. Among them, more than 60% of people are cared for by their families. In the past, the seniors need to wait for more than a month before they can utilize the long-term care. The hospitals have made changes to speed up the process.
We combine the preparation for long-term care before the patient is discharged, so they do not have to wait for as long.
The hospitals now assess the patient's conditions before their discharge. This way, the average waiting time for patients has been shortened to 4.8 days.
The home caregivers might go there for more than once a day. They might go there several times. This is flexible home care service.
叮咛服用药物，还聆听分享生活的大小事。
The government is combining different services to ensure the seniors are cared for and their families do not have to worry.
Tzu Chi volunteers in Taidong, Taiwan have been caring for the elderly in Taoyuan village of Yanping town for more than a year. This time, nurses from Guanshan Tzu Chi Hospital also took part in caring for these seniors.
Tzu Chi volunteers in Taidong, Taiwan visit elderly Bunun people in Taoyuan village, Yanping town. Nurses from Guanshan Tzu Chi Hospital teach them to move their bodies with simple exercises.
促进他们搭配我们的身心呼吸，还有
It will improve their breathing and movements of their joints. These simple movements will allow them to sweat a little and to be in a bright mood. Their bodies can have exercises.
让他们能够促进他们开心的心情，然后身体也能够活动到。
The volunteers and nurses also dine vegetarian meals with the elderly once a month.
现在社会最缺乏的是心灵这个地方，所以我。
The society lacks spiritual nourishment, so I think the best way is to involve Tzu Chi's missions into our activities.
把它融在我们的这个整个活动里面。
老人家呢，他们讲说
The elderly said they wanted to thank Tzu Chi for coming to interact with them once a month. This is very good.
他们这个互动，这是非常好的。好，丽娜哈。
The elderly receive coin bags from the volunteers and draw on them happily. They look forward to fill the coin bags with their love to help more people.
Chonghua Independent High School in Kelantan, Malaysia has been very active in promoting recycling on campus. This time, the school invited Tzu Chi volunteers to demonstrate vegetarian cooking, promoting vegetarianism.
Tzu Chi volunteers demonstrate to the cooks and students of Chonghua Independent High School how to prepare delicious vegetarian meals.
The school realized vegetarian meals could be so delicious. I really hope there's a school that only provides vegetarian meals, and more people will know that vegetarian cooking is quite simple.
Everyone decided to change their eating habits. The school will have a vegetarian lunch once a month, and it is supported by 355 teachers and students.
Last time when the volunteers came, they showed us a short video. We learned from it that cattle and chickens will release some bad gas, worsening global warming.
For a long time, we always felt that we couldn't live without meat, and it was something necessary. So we should promote vegetarian diet wider so the students will know vegetarian diet is very nutritional and meaningful.
We wonder that when the children heard it was vegetarian, they did dislike it. But the response I've heard is positive, very good. So we've been thinking about how to improve the meals on the campus because we want the students to be healthy. Why not, right?
The school appreciates Tzu Chi volunteers' contribution. They work together to protect planet Earth.
In Vancouver of Canada, to embrace the Lunar New Year, Tzu Chi volunteers visited 6 nursing homes sharing festivities with the seniors. In addition, a gratitude event was held in Coquitlam. We'll leave you with these images. Goodbye.